nice to see everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank yourselves for being here and investing time into your personal and professional growth. It's nice to see a lot of our members here. We love all of our members, and it's so nice to see you on camera. And yeah, we encourage everyone to be on camera, as you all know. So we're gonna just get right into it. We have a really special fireside chat webinar with the incredible Monique Bryan, who I said is looking so colorful today. And I was like, oh, I'm so drab in my black, but it's okay. It's all about her. Before we get into it, obviously, if you are new to City Moguls, welcome to our incredible community of entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers. This community is really all about connecting with like-minded people, furthering your learning, and being inspired to really get out there and make things happen, get those goals. Today's webinar is powered by CIBC, our exclusive financial partner. And obviously, for those of you who, I think everyone here is pretty much a member, which is awesome. So you already know this, but put your comments, your questions, anything that you want Monique to address today into the chat. And when we get to our Q&A, you can ask Monique directly. Don't be shy. No question is too small, too big. We're hoping that Monique can clarify every obstacle and, give us some really good tidbits of information. I'm really excited about this webinar. I've been excited about it all week because this is such an incredible topic about building brand over business, which is all about what Monique is about. I'm going to read your bio because it's so juicy really quickly before you get into it. Okay, Monique, so just bear with me while I share all of your amazing accolades. Monique has a BA in fashion design, 3 startups under her belt. So obviously she knows a bit about entrepreneur life and has developed programming in partnership with companies throughout Asia and exciting global brands like PayPal, Burberry, and Tom's Shoes, bringing over 15 years of top-level industry experience in the areas of product development, fashion, branding, business development, and personal styling. Today, Monique runs a brand consultancy showing business owners how to use their personal brand as visual communication power tool. She helps people to clarify their messaging, build their unique brand personality, and level up their style profile so they can amplify their credibility in their industry. So I know a lot of us are excited about that. Monique is also a breast cancer survivor and has grown an engaged community of over 14,000 plus people on social media while in remission, which is absolutely freaking incredible. She speaks on international stages and has been, and now virtual stages, and has been featured on global television, Entrepreneur Magazine, Bustle, She Does the City, Lori Harder's Earn Your Happy podcast, and many others. Today, Monique runs a branding consultancy under MoniqueBryan.com, so you guys can all head there after this, and is the creator of Juicy Brand On-Demand 8-week accelerator, helping entrepreneurs craft their stories and visual identity to stand out from the competition. And I love your motto, Monique, which is our personal brand is all we have, so it better be juicy and delicious or don't bother. I love that motto. That's so great. Thank you so much for being here, Monique.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited as well. We've had this on the books for a while, and here we are.
Yes, we finally made it. So I want to jump right in. Obviously, people got a little bit of a taste of kind of what you've been doing, but where did it all kind of begin? Where did your passion for entrepreneurship begin? And how did you kind of come into becoming a branding expert?
I think most people think when you start a business, it's like, I think I can do this better than my boss. That's kind of like how it began. So I was I was doing product development at a national retailer, traveling throughout Asia and working with manufacturers for about 8 years when I was like, okay, I don't really care about, it's funny, I'm going to say I don't care about clothing. Meanwhile, like I'm obsessed, but I was like, I don't want to do this and make other people rich. I know I can go out here and do this myself. So I left a 6-figure income to go start a jewelry company because I was like, oh, no one's making jewelry. Everyone's making jewelry. It's like the cheapest thing you can make from your kitchen table. Okay. But I didn't know that. So took all my savings, went into that. And at the time when I did it, there wasn't all of the amazing communities and entrepreneurship groups and government help around building a business. It was really me navigating it on my own. I also didn't know any entrepreneurs. None of my friends were entrepreneurs. My mother thought I was insane. And I was like, okay, I did that for a while. I did it for about 6 years, and I you know, did all the things I wanted to. I wanted to sell in New York and travel and, you know, become known as this jewelry designer. And then I fell out of love with it. And that will happen when you go through things and you do it and you're like, I actually hate this and I don't want to do it anymore. And it's hard to say that to yourself. So you don't. You hang on for dear life and you keep it until it actually just disappears on its own. And while I was doing that, I was approached by a startup who wanted to help other entrepreneurs who had no idea how to build products in 3.5 days. So we were hosting these hackathons in Toronto, and it was insane and it was exciting. And I got my first taste of like startup world. What does that look like? What does it look like to pitch to investors and get all of these different companies involved? And that was really exciting. And again, I was like doing it, realizing I'm building someone else's dream again. It's not mine. And while I was doing that, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of fed up with this whole building of other people's dreams, and maybe entrepreneurship isn't for me. Maybe I'm done. And I did something that some entrepreneurs will consider doing when they're like, I'm fed up. I went and got a regular job. I was like, this is a break. I love this. I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You know, I just come in, do my thing. I leave at 5. And if entrepreneurship is in your blood, it's like, it's a part of you. It's like for someone to tell you when to go to lunch, why are you coming in late? I was like fighting with I was like, this is the most crazy thing I would put myself into. I'm like, this is horrible and a nightmare. So, but while that was happening is when I got diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. And it was the wake up call I think that I needed to push me into what I needed to be doing, and at least know that I don't have, it's like our next healthy day is not promised. And I don't have time to just sit here and twiddle my thumbs. It's like, stop kind of telling myself, stop being so scared to go and try new things, no matter how many times you fail at it. Right. And that's kind of what I needed to hear. So while I was in recovery, I was like, Monique, you've always wanted to do coaching. Coaching is in your like soul. I was doing coaches training as well on the side before I was diagnosed, and I wanted to coach people in their business. So I had no idea I was going to go into branding. I did not know branding was going to be like the heart and beat and soul of Monique. It was very much business coaching, and I'm going to help you with what you're doing, and whatever you're doing out here online is like giving me a headache. So please let me come and help you. So when I launched an online program. I had all of these women in there who were building their business. And one of the biggest issues they had was talking about themselves. In general, everybody, we have a problem talking about what we do. And it came so natural to me to be able to hear their story and regurgitate it back to them in a way that they got excited about what they did, that I was like, what if I could build a whole business just around that? And I was like, that's not a business. And I had to like pitch it to a few of my entrepreneur friends, which is my first piece of advice. Only ask other entrepreneurs about entrepreneurial shit. Do not ask non-entrepreneurs about entrepreneurial shit, because they don't know what they're talking about and they can't give you really good sound advice. So they were like, Monique, it is very hard for people to tell their story. This is a business. Just do some research. And that's when I started looking into what is personal branding. How do you build something that transcends this entrepreneurial journey in case you go on to do your next entrepreneurial journey? And that's how it all began.
Yeah, it's so inspirational what you've accomplished so far too. I want to get into the nitty gritty of, you know, what you do best and talking about how to brand yourself. So what is involved in creating that entire package and focusing on branding yourself?
A lot of pieces, but I will say this. It starts with your story. Your personal brand, you know, is another way of saying, you know, reputation management. But it's so much deeper in that. If you take on that, someone said this perfectly the other day, and I was like, oh my God, I had to like pull over on the side of the road from this podcast and write it down. And she said, your brand is the imprint you leave on other people's hearts. Because it's more than your logo, it's more than your colors, it's more than the aesthetic, it's more than the superficial layers that I spent a lot of time building for people. Because as humans, we are judging a book by its cover. We're deciding if the words that you're about to come out of your mouth are credible based on what I'm seeing. based on the cohesiveness across all of your platforms, your messaging. So I always say it starts with your story. It starts with what's the story you want to tell people? What vehicles do you want to use to tell that story? And is your presence aligned with your message? So people think it starts with all of the colors and all of the fun things. And that really is not where it starts, because you can't actually develop your voice of your brand until you know what it is you want to say, who you want to be listening, and what impact you want to make with what people. So I spend a lot of time clarifying messaging, story, and the emotional component behind what you do. When I think of small business owners, and what we have as an advantage, and sometimes, but is also a challenge, is that we have to learn to use the emotional component behind what we do in order to bring in our squad of people, right? We can't be everything to everybody. But when you are so rooted in your voice and what you do and who you help, and people come to you and they're like, oh, she gets me. She's my kind of person. That's the person I want coaching me. That's the person I want to give my money to. Then, hey, Anna, then you have started to develop brand. It's a thing really where people are like talking, like what people are saying about you when you're not in the room is where it starts. What would you love people to be saying about you when you ain't there?
Yeah, it's a great point, because, we are always focused on kind of that fun piece that you were talking about, colors and the branding and the kind of the superficial stuff. So going back to story and building your story, what are some actual takeaways that people can do like tonight to kind of revamp or revisit what their brand story is?
The very first thing you want to do is, what emotions are you selling? That's like one of the key questions I have every one of my clients have to answer. It's not the offer that you're selling. What are the emotions you're selling? Meaning, when people interact with your brand online, your lives, your content, your email marketing, what do you want them to be left with when they walk away? What feelings? Because we buy from feeling place. We take action from the feeling place, not from the logical place. I've got like 20 shoes in this closet that I have nowhere to go in, that I logically can convince myself I need, right? But emotionally, they make me feel something, and that's why they're sitting in there. I literally have nowhere to go. I'm going nowhere, and it's, you know what I mean? So I want you to think about that with your own business. Like, people can justify buying anything or doing any new thing if they felt it. So what do you want people feeling? Right? That's how you start with the brand. When you think of brands you like, think about how you feel when you interact with it. Because sometimes it's hard for us to decide what that is when we're talking about our own stuff, because we're so close to it. It's so hard. It's like, I don't know, I want people to feel hopeful and happy and inspired. But it's like, it's deeper than that. In what do you feel when you go to your favorite place? Right? So I like to use Starbucks as an example. And I was talking to Danny about Starbucks. I have this love affair with them, I just do, because their staff always makes me feel welcome and amazing when I'm in there. No matter what, the customer is always right. I friggin' love it. They got it wrong. Oh, that's fine. We'll make an entirely new one. It's customizable. Monique's a little bit of a princess. She needs things catered to Monique, and that's why she goes there. I need it to be, a grande, half sweet, extra shot, and they don't flinch at that, right? Like that type of experience, I want to be replicated wherever I go, because it makes me feel good about spending my money. So if you're looking for what are your emotional things you're selling, look at the brands that have you take a new action or feel really amazing about. Start there. And then I would encourage you to look at what makes you uniquely qualified to go and help the people you want to help. And you are all uniquely qualified because you are all unique humans. No one has had your life or your experience. So no one can bring the same type of teachings you can bring. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how crowded your space. So I like to have people write down, I call it your juicy claim to fame. What are all of the things you've accomplished where you can sit there and get a snapshot of your badassery? I don't know, there's a better way to say it. Like, I did these things. Oh, I'm a total badass. I overcame this. I helped this person told me I did this, I brought a human into the world. Like whatever it is, write it down, right? Because these are the things that weave into our story that has somebody who comes on a discovery call or something with you when they're like, you know, I really connected with you because of the thing that you said around this. I get a lot of women who are breast cancer survivors who are like, that is why I picked you. There's an understanding behind it without us having to say anything. So that's why sharing your story is so important. People want to know who's the face behind this thing.
Such a great reminder about how, you know, you want other people to feel when they're interacting with your brand. Because I think we know this, but we don't, we're not reminded of it enough. So it's a great reminder to kind of think, how am I making someone feel with this post and with this and my story and how I'm writing this content? It's so, it just resonated with me so much. Let's talk about some mistakes maybe that you have made, or some common mistakes that other people might make with their brand, that you can share with us. Maybe some mistakes that you maybe have learned when you were branding your business.
I mean, one of the biggest ones I would say, I don't even know. I'm not big on mistakes. I'm more on lessons, of course, right? Like all the mistakes or have gotten me to where I am. Had I not made them, I wouldn't even be here. My first thing I was thinking of, it was like patience, right? We think, no, I don't care. Everyone is talking about how you can have this 6-figure business overnight. Like, I'm like, who's doing that? Please show me how you did that. Because I came into the online space, because I went from making physical products to this online space thinking that. I was like, what are you talking? All of these people are telling me. I'm buying courses that are telling me I am going to be a millionaire in the next 12 months, as long as I do what they say. And that is not how that happens. And so patience is like the first thing I didn't have. And I felt like when I started, I had a lot of sense of entitlement. I was like, I've been an entrepreneur before. I'm a speaker before. I don't understand why you don't want to hire me, right? Like I really did have this sense of entitlement. And I was like, I don't know where I got that from. But the point is, it helped me in the sense that it made me work hard and kind of have like this real feeling of like, I'm going to make this happen. But at the same time, it had me feeling like I was failing a lot because people weren't picking me up quickly. And I just came out here as a brand person, right? Like they don't know me in that space. I'm basically a stranger to them. They're like, what are you talking about? You just showed up on Instagram yesterday. We have no idea who you are. So patience is one. And then the other thing is I tried to wait until things were perfect before I came out here and announced the thing I was offering. I thought that if I just came out and I did some posts and I talked about some things and video, people were doing video, but I wasn't because I was too afraid to make a mistake live. So I didn't do any video. And I was like, no, I have this course and I'm going to make sure the course is perfect. And when it's ready, then I'm going to tell people about it. And I was so lucky to have a coach that said, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. How do you know anybody even wants that thing? I was like, no. I've spent hours in here. I got this. And, I've spent all of this time. And she was like, I swear to God, you're insane. She's like, can you please, my challenge to you, and this is what I challenge every single one of my clients. If you're not someone who loves video, my heart goes out to you because video is like the fastest way to get people to know you and decide if your personality is for their personality. But she challenged me to go live for 30 days, not whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a half an hour. Go live and let people know you. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This is the craziest thing. I was like, I obviously wouldn't have no problem with being on camera, but I did like to get things right. This perfectionism was stifling me. And I swear that was one of the best pieces of advice I ever could have gotten, because in the beginning, you make all the mistakes when nobody's watching. Nobody cares about you, Monique, when you're on here doing your live every Monday, Tuesday. Nobody gives a damn, okay? What did I talk about? I talked about everything that I could think about around the thing I loved at the time, which was storytelling. But it wasn't just that. I would find things online around people talking about things I had opinions on, and I would talk about that. And in the middle of all that, I'd be like, and I'm doing a course on that. If you want to know more about that course, send me a DM. If you want to know more about that course, there's a link in the bio. Oh, the course is opening. Remember that course I was telling you guys about? But I thought that if I just waited till it was perfect, then people would come on and buy. But people needed to see. I didn't know the seven times rule of marketing rule, right? Where someone needs to see you 7 times before they buy from you. But you can fast forward that relationship by showing up a lot. Some people see me now and they're like, oh my God, I've been following you forever. And it's been like 30 days. But because when I'm launching something, you're going to see me a lot on your feed, in your face, that is strategic. So not hiding is one of the biggest takeaways I can have. Whether you're doing a good job, bad job, it really doesn't matter, because no one's paying that close attention to you. Everyone is very concerned about themselves. So make all your mistakes up front, say what you want to say. If you're nervous about going online, I would write my key points. Like, I'd have them sitting here. I'd be like, okay, Monique's gonna talk about these 3 or 5 things, because nobody will come on. Some people will come on, but I love that people can always watch it later. So I was like, I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to introduce myself. But I'm also, one of the mistakes I used to make is I used to do this long introduction, right? When you're on a live, please don't do that. When you're doing a YouTube, nobody wants that shit. They're like, why am I here? What are you going to teach me? What's in it for me? I used to be like, hi, my name is Monique. Oh my gosh. And then we're like 3 minutes in, and like, that is the worst mistake you can make. Now it's like less than 30 seconds. Because you want to tell people, why are you here? This is for you. So really having always the outward focus of what's in it for them. This is always about them. It may be about you, but it's for them. So always gearing your content, your lives, all of it. It is not unless you are a YouTube star where you're a personality and people just want to know what you're thinking all that. And it's not to say you can't talk about mundane things. People love to hear about my, fight with somebody on the road or something. Like, people love to hear that shit too, right? But the majority of it should be around the value you bring to their lives, to their problem that's trying to be solved.
I have the same question as Anna, actually. What did you talk about for 30 days?
Yeah, I just talked about branding and storytelling and my course. And I also talked about how I didn't want to be there live. Like, I was very straight, and people love that, right? Like, I wasn't on there. I dropped my phone in the middle of a live more than once. Then I got a tripod, and I was like, guys, see, Monique got a tripod. And then I got so excited, I kicked the tripod over in the middle of the live. Like, this is just how it was going to go down, right? So I talked about coming out here. I talked about what I was nervous about. I never talked about, I was nervous about the thing that I was going to deliver, which was the course. I was like, I'm so excited about that, but video isn't my jam yet. I had the craziest haircut because my hair had just started growing back and I didn't have a barber, and I would talk about that. So I would weave in, some humor and entertainment to the lessons that they would be taking away, because at the end of the day, people want to be entertained in some form. I'm sure there's people who are just coming for the content, for the value, for the takeaways that they can write down. But entertainment is the thing that will have them stay. Our attention spans are just too short.
Which is crazy. Like, when did our attention spans get so limited, right? Like,
when everything was like a phone away.
Yeah, when you could just type anything into Google.
I'm the same. Whenever my phone is not in my hand, I'm like, someone's talking, I'm like, it's okay. As long as I know where the phone is, you can continue the conversation. Like, yeah, I'm going to miss something.
It's just a crazy thing. Anna, do you want to ask your question since you're already on camera? You can just unmute yourself and ask Monique directly. You're so close.
Does she have permission?
Sorry,
unmute?
My camera started like freezing. Am I frozen?
No, you're good. We can see
okay.
you.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, so clearly you're a branding expert, and that's evident and amazing, and you're awesome. Love working with you. I'm just wondering, did you kind of fall into branding over time, or was it like a bunch of different things and then you kind of like niched into personal branding, or because you're obviously multi-talented, so you have all of these different skills, and I'm assuming there's like 10 to 12 different really passionate skills that, you know, you love to do. But how did you kind of scale it down and say, okay, I'm just going to stay here, even though it's a variety of things that you're doing, is versatile, but still very specific? How did you get to that place?
Yes. I was doing business development for entrepreneurs, and I was doing all of the different pieces because I knew all of the different pieces, and I was exhausted. I was not only exhausted, but I was like frustrated. I didn't enjoy it. I was like, what's wrong with this picture? I literally created this. Monique, you're living your passion. You beat cancer. You're doing the thing. And now you're like, I don't want to teach this again. And I went to a friend and I said, this is what's happening with me. And she asked me, what was the thing that I like to teach the most? And I'm like, the storytelling thing comes to me natural. Like you came on a bit after I had said this before, but because we have such a hard time talking about ourselves, I have this gift that when you tell me your story, I can tell it back to you like it was supposed to be written in a book. And you're like, oh my God, Monique, you make me sound so amazing, right? That's how it started. And that's how I niched down to that. But it was challenging because I didn't want to niche down. I was like, but I'm going to leave all of these different people on the table. And there's so many people who need help. And there's people who've done this longer than me. But I feel like we go into entrepreneurship like by choice. And I always say, you got to be a little bit off to be an entrepreneur. I'm sorry. To put yourself in constant turmoil and risk, you've got to be a little bit off, right? So if you're going to do that, you've got to love it. Like there's nothing that's going to get you through the hard times than the love of it. So while I was doing all of that, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk more about personal branding. So I started talking more about it, and literally somebody came to me. We were going to do a speaker panel, and I was like, I'm just going to do this. And then I was thinking about launching this, and and she just stopped me. She's like, can I be really honest with you? And she's an entrepreneur herself. And I was like, yeah. She was like, can you just own the personal branding space and kind of knock it off with all the other stuff already? And I was like, I could. She was like, yeah. She was like, you're just making yourself crazy. And I was like, it kind of like I needed permission for someone to say I could niche down. And when I did, like my business like exponentially skyrocketed because people need to be able to put you in a box in their mind. They need to know, where do you fit in my life? Where can I recommend you to someone else? So it was a tough, at the time it seemed like a tough decision, and yet it was the best decision I could have made because like you said, and I know Anna, you've got a lot in your arsenal as well. It's not that you can't do the other things. It's what you're marketing out of the gate. That's what people need. People need clarity. So people can come to me and I can give them all the business development in the background, but the thing they come to me for is the thing that I'm promoting.
So basically, just to kind of add to that, so you kind of still get to do all of those things, but you can kind of package that up later once they've come to you to do the main thing, right? Like once you've identified what their branding needs are, you can kind of expand and do more, but really you just need them to have a clear indication of it's this thing and kind of go from there.
Yes. It's like you're also like people want what they want. You know what they need as the expert, right? Like people will come and be like, yeah, I just need you to do a photo shoot for me. I know that's not going to get them what they need. Period. And I'd be like, okay, a photo shoot, that sounds really great. Cause I also do brand photo shoots. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in my program. And the first 30 days, all we do is develop your story and your brand, who you are, what you stand for, because I know you can't have a successful brand photo shoot that's authentic and jumps off of the page if you don't know who you are. It doesn't happen. They become bland stock photos that you could have taken at Walmart. That's what it is, right? So it's like the giving them what they want. And once they're in there, you give them what they need at the same time. And because you've got all of these extra pieces, they're actually getting a bargain because they didn't know you had all of that hanging out in the background with them, the business development, maybe the money pieces, how to do their content, like all of those things come to the forefront. And then there's also, you know, you can also move into my VIP program where we really tackle these things now that you are this. That's just another thing I do.
And thanks so much, Anna, for your question. Guys, if you have any other questions or comments, please put them in the chat so we can, you know, Monique has some really juicy content here. So if you have questions, put them in so we can get them answered. Monique, I guess the next question I had for you was, you know, I mean, this is all about branding over business, but we're all entrepreneurs here. Everyone's working in their business, on their business, numbers, all of that kind of stuff, the branding for their own business. So how is there like a way that you are supposed to be, is there an amount of time you're supposed to be focusing on personal branding and on your business branding, and kind of what does that look like? And is there something that you can do better to focus on branding as much as you are focusing on your business?
So what I'll say is, and not everyone agrees, your personal brand and your business brand are not different. Not in my world, they're not. If you're trying to build both, that's why you're tired. If you've only got you and maybe one other person on the team, maybe two, you don't need to have all these different brands. Yes, if you want it to live after you, it can evolve to being its own thing, right? But if you're starting out, if you're not, like, don't try and separate them, because that's just way more work. That's like having more than one Instagram account. I don't advise you to do it. Why? It's the same amount of work on both of them. Ain't nobody got that kind of time. So if you kind of like streamline it, you will always be, you are always working on your brand. It is not a like, you're working on your brand, then you're working on your business. Your business is your brand. Someone choosing you over someone else is brand. So there's different aspects. So if I was to say something and talk about like the aesthetics of brand, when do you work on that? It's like, if it is not your forte, outsource this, please. You don't need a ton of everything. You need some colors that identify who you are. You've got some fonts that are part of the brand. If you need a website, fine, build it, or just build one landing page where people can find you, and just let it be what it is, and focus on the message and the thing that you deliver in writing content, right? The content is the engagement, right? We've got to engage before we can offer them and make them buy anything or make them want to buy anything. We got to warm up the audience. And the only way to do that is to build content. So it's a lot. It's a lot of things you need to be doing, in that you've got to have the business foundation itself. You've got to have a really good streamlined signature offer. So I look at, how many offers you actually have, and maybe looking to streamline that and bringing it down to a signature offer. And then there is the showing up, because visibility is money, right? People can't buy from you if they don't know who you are. So you've got to come out here and I always say, like, you got to be in people's face and be impossible to ignore.
Be impossible to ignore. That's it. Okay. We got a couple good questions here in the chat. I was waiting for my co-founder to Victoria to ask something, because this is such juicy content for us. So we're like soaking it all up. Before I get to Vic's question, Raj, do you want to ask your question on camera?
Sure. Thanks, Danny. Hey, Monique, thanks for doing this.
Hey.
And my question is, you talked earlier about the sort of like your intro to this space and how you were able to tell people stories, hear them and then relay them back to them, you know, in a much more captivating way. If that aspect of telling your story in a captivating way is one aspect of branding, what would you say kind of fills that pie in terms of the different aspects of personal branding? And how much weight does telling your story in a captivating way hold in that?
Ooh, such a good question.
It's a really good question.
The pie has a lot of pieces. I'll start by saying that. Being able to tell your story so it is interesting enough that somebody would listen to you. And inside of that, there's the credentials that go along with you being an expert. So there's that piece. Then there's also the presence. The presence is a big piece of what I work on, right? So there's the stuff that is not so surface, but the visual communication of what you do is very important, right? So that's why I focus a lot on what is your outward presentation, right? Are you a walking, talking example of your message? That is the other part of the personal brand. Then I look at, you know, what I was saying earlier is like, if you were at a very like swanky danky party and no one could see you and somebody was talking about you, what would you want them saying? So that's personal to everybody. What do you want them saying about you when you're not there? Because that is the epitome of the brand. Is it that you're super punctual? Is it that your customer service is bar none? Is it that you're always engaging and inspiring? And then looking at, what do I want people saying about me? And then looking at your business and being like, where have I injected that? So another piece of that pie is your brand voice and your brand personality, right? So you've got the messages that you want to come across, and how do you want to be perceived? There's the how you want people to feel, but there's also the how you want to be perceived. I'm not saying everyone needs to be happy and inviting and all of those things. You may be very jarring and sarcastic and whatever that is for you, but a distinct brand personality will be a thing that has you uniquely stand out from other people. So
Right.
and then there is all of the aesthetics. There's the online digital footprint of your brand, meaning I encourage everyone to go Google yourself. And is it aligned with who you want to be seen? We get to, the great thing about the personal brands, we get to curate it, right? All of it. And you should. It is it is the one thing you do have control over, right? Which is, if somebody was to Google you, because more people are going to meet you online than ever meet you in person, what are they going to find? So going and looking at all of your bios for all of your social platforms, even the ones you don't use, looking at your photos and being like, does this look like me? Like not 5-10 years ago me, like actual present day me, because it is for people jarring if they look at something online, they click the link to book to call you, and then you're on a Zoom call and they're like, who's that? I do not know who that is, but that's not who I booked this call with. So looking at all of that, looking at articles that you've written that has that thought leadership that you've created. I know, Victoria, right? Like that thought leadership. Where do you want to be seen? In what areas do you want to be seen as an expert? And then looking at, is there content you've maybe written in the past that needs to be deleted? Like I encourage everyone to clean up that digital house, take down anything, untag yourself, ask aunts, uncles, and everyone on Facebook who's tagged you in a picnic photo that is not something you want out there, to take it down. So there's this like alignment with what do you want presented online, and then where are the holes to make that happen?
That help answer your question, Raj?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. That was great.
Yeah, those were some good buckets. I feel like you nailed a few different things there. So Victoria's just back from camping, so she's not camera ready, but I'm going to ask for her. She'd love your tips for integrating your business's brand into your personal brand authentically. It's a great question.
Because I don't separate them, I don't know if I'll be able to give you like the best answer. What I would say is start almost like do an introduction to your audience on your business pages of the behind the scenes and bring yourself forward, right? It's like making yourself more, like showing your face more will have people automatically connect you and the brand together, right? Like that's what makes it authentic, where you're like, hey, let's talk about the owners, the founders behind this, the story of why did we build this business to begin with, the stories of our clients and our customers, the story of why are we building community, the story of our community. And the more you have the face of the person saying that for people to see, it will organically come together on its own. Because when they're on the business page, they'll be like, oh, there's Victoria. And then when they're on Victoria's page, they're like, oh, there's Victoria. Oh yeah, Victoria is the owner of the thing. Oh yeah, I see. They continuously overlap. And also just not really separating when you talk about the business, whether it's on your personal page or your business page. And I like to encourage people, if they do have two platforms, to tell people, hey, I'm going to be over on, make sure you come over on City Moguls and come see me on such and such a date, because me and Danny are going to be doing something pretty fantastic, and continuously bring people over to where you want them to be.
That's super helpful. And I think that helps a lot of people too, because they really do have some sort of separation between their personal and their business. And you really are reminding us how to kind of inject each into the other. So yes, go ahead.
Thing I will say though, for you, anyone who has a personal profile page, which is really a personal one, where I'm talking about you got your dog, your cat, your husband, the baby, and somebody else's child on your profile. I know some of these photos are like, oh, no, Monique, I have to have these photos when we were in wherever. I'm going to say St. Bart's, but I was like, nobody's going to St. Bart's. Let's not call that a thing, right? But I would encourage you to just put that on private so not the whole world can't see it, right? This way you don't have to take it down, but really that's for friends and family. If we're talking about that type of an account, it's for friends and family. So that's what it should be. The whole world does not need to see it. So you don't need to worry about people seeing things that you may not want them to see or know. That's what I say to all like real personal accounts, if you have them and want to keep them private.
Yeah, great. Linda, do you want to ask your question? Also, if you guys don't have Monique already on speaker view, it kind of feels like she's talking to you when she's on speaker view. Like, I feel like we're on a one-on-one coaching call here. So you should put her on speaker view. But Linda, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so I'm thinking I'm naive. Am I the only entrepreneur that, I guess my naiveness is I created an app and I'm thinking it's a service and I'm thinking nobody who would want to know who I am behind the brand. I just feel like I have a problem with it. I don't really want to be the face, and I love your ideas of going on Instagram and telling people more about me, but I'm thinking no one wants to know who I am. They just want to use my app, don't they? And just use the service. Am I wrong?
Well, here's what I would wonder. Have you, so the app itself, is this live? Like, can people buy it? Like, is this ready to go on the market?
Yeah, well, it's because of COVID. I'm like an Uber, if you will, but for personal stylists. So we connect customers with personal stylists to shop together in the Greater Toronto area. Yeah, and it's well, thank you. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking, it's a service. So why would someone want to know who I am and to put my face out there? So look, I'm actually thinking about it.
You're like, I'm sweating. It's like, I don't want to be the one. So what I say to those who are really like, okay, so I guess if I was like, okay, if you had something which was like, even like in the tech space where you one day needed it, you wanted investors and things like this, you've built this up to a place where it has a certain amount of following, where people are interested. They're going to be, what do they always do? You got to have a business plan and what's on it, the team, they want to know who the team is, right? Yeah. So that's obviously a very unique situation, but at some point, someone's going to want to know who you are. So here's what I would say. Do you have a LinkedIn profile?
Yes.
With your face on it?
Yes. And that was hard. It's all been hard.
Right. But if you're not, so every social media platform may not be for everybody, but wherever you will be found needs to be streamlined, needs to be polished, right? So even if you're not out here on video talking about your app, because then I automatically think is like, how are you marketing this thing? That's another conversation. But I'm like, if it's not your face,
right?
Who is it? What is it? What's making me buy into it? Who are my ambassadors? What's the thing, right? Because like at the end of the day, guys, it's all marketing. Like you could have the greatest product in the world, but if you don't know how to market it, I don't know why let's just hang it up. Let's just hang it up, right? So I would be like, for anybody who doesn't want to be the face,
right,
you can creatively get around it by creating a persona that may not be your face, right? But it's something that people can latch onto, that they're like, there's still a personality there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm beginning to understand that. It's just
I know it's tough because it's outside of your comfort zone, and maybe it's not video for you. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's like, I would love to be like, okay, this Uber app for stylists, connecting personal stylists with people, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm already like, my head is right into the marketing place. How are you marketing this so people want to buy this app? It sounds like a really great service, but I'm also in the place of clothing. So to me, I'm like, oh, this is great. I love this idea. I have a million clients. I'm like, all my clients want this service, right? But I'm also going to be like, the first thing I want to do is go look at it and be like, oh, it better be super juicy and stylish if I'm going to now endorse it to other people because it's around style.
Right. And I feel like I've done that with my, you know, with my Instagram and my website and everything, but I just like, I keep saying this, like, why would someone want to know who I am? But yeah, it's okay.
We all want to know who you are, Linda. Everyone wants it. We've learned here today that everyone wants to know the people behind the brand.
Right. And that's my naiveness of, okay, I got it.
Well, I mean, I'd love to know, like, it comes back to story then. It's like, why are you the one to build this thing? Why hasn't anyone thought about it before? Why is it going to work this time? What does Linda know that that other person didn't know to build this thing? Right. So even if you never said, you know, specifically like, hey, here's your founder, this is Linda's face. It's like talking about the founders of, what's the name of the app?
Get a Stylist.
The founders of Get a Stylist. Like, this was born out of, like, there's still a story there.
Right.
So even if you don't want your face out there, the story piece is important.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks. I got it.
Oh, and one more thing that you could do is you could actually make a caricature of yourself.
Oh, okay.
People do it all the time, right? Where they're like, okay, it is still look like you, but it's a caricature version of you, right? And then it's kind of sometimes takes a little bit of the pressure off of it being like you raw out there. I have a caricature of myself too, but that's also quite obvious because Monique wants a caricature of herself.
We're gonna
have anything to do with the business. I think that's just a cartoon of herself.
I love that. Who doesn't want a cartoon of themselves? Thanks, Linda. Let's chat too offline, Linda. Linda's one of our members, and I love our other members who are so supportive right now. Raj says, you're not alone, Linda. And Nikita says, such an awesome app and service. I love that. You guys are the best. We love our members. Okay. We have another question from one of our members, Chris. Do you want to ask Monique on camera?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And I just wanted to say to Linda, because I can't let it go. I wanted to say that, Linda, you're the best part of what you do. And that's a little bit about this, right? So don't feel like you need to hold back. Okay?
Thank you. I mean, I'm just being really honest with everyone. Yeah, it's very hard for me. And yeah, but I'm glad that I'm not alone, you know, just like, you know.
You're not. Yeah. And one other thought I had too, as I was looking at your site, is you might consider including image consultants and personal brand people like Monique in your app. It might grow your app because sometimes those people don't identify as stylists in sort of the fashion way. Mm-hmm. Although that's a component of it, just an idea. So my question for Monique though, was what do you do in your downtime? How do you fit your downtime in, and what do you do during your downtime to sort of recharge your batteries?
What is downtime? No, I'm joking. That is a great question, and I would love to say I've mastered it, and I have not. I'm good when there's some form of a morning routine that gets me in a position to win always. So there's that piece. I don't know if I necessarily consider it downtime, but I consider it me time. And I like to, this downtime thing. It's something I've been, it's something I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I've been struggling with it myself. I booked an Airbnb last week to go away by myself, and I ended up, you know, coming up with some great ideas, but again, it wasn't downtime because I came up with some great ideas and started working on those things. When I really need to get something done, or I'm feeling burnt out, or I'm feeling like if you don't take this moment, you're not going to make it to your next month, I have to schedule it in. I literally have to schedule it in. If I don't do that, it's not going to happen. And everybody's personality is different, but I live by my schedule. And I respect my schedule. So I know if I put in like this day to this day, there's no meetings coming on here, it's only brainstorming time, things like that, then it will happen. And the other piece is I love community. Community is where I get a lot of my juice from. COVID has made it, has really, highlighted that for me even more so because we can't gather and I get energy from humans. But I try and do I schedule Zoom coffee dates with people who inspire me and get me stimulated and we have the same kind of cheer on type of attitude. So these it's hard because for some people downtime is actual downtime, but I get energized by those types of interactions. I don't know, Chris. I don't know if that helps you. Like, what are you struggling with around downtime?
Bring it back. No, I'm good actually. I'm probably too far on the other way. I'm too far in just taking it easy and making time for myself.
We need to get more motivated. That's what we're looking for, the motivation part.
Yeah, well, I'm just motivated to take care of myself, and then that's sort of what I offer to organizations and people. But the thing that, so that's part of the brand. I do have to get my video going and get my streams, because it almost feels like you become a permanent funnel. It's like your life becomes a marketing funnel. And so I'm just wondering how you balance that out before you have yourself and your family, but I'm not like taking pictures of every meal that I make and posting it on Instagram for health purposes, right? Because you're like, are you going to take another photo right now? And I'm like, yes, right? So what I wanted to see if you had found that balance, or what the right balance is, because it's always sort of moving, and how would you fit that in?
I mean, I do try to keep, even though we work from home, I've always worked from home even before COVID. So I try to keep like a regular workday schedule. Like I try not to work past like 6 or 7 o'clock. I shut that down. You know, I have a husband, I don't know if he cares if I shut it down or not, especially during football season. He's like, can you please go back to work? But I know for myself, I shut it down at a reasonable hour, unless there's like something really pressing. But I try to keep like a very much like, okay, I don't take any meetings usually before 11 o'clock. That's like gym time, get ready time, bulletproof coffee time, get Monique ready amp time, and then full day. And then by like 6, 7 o'clock, it's like, okay, even if I could keep working, I shut it down.
Okay.
But you had me thinking about that, Chris.
It's good. We're good. Everyone's going to get thinking tonight about this stuff. So it's awesome. This is the goal. Anna, do you want to ask your question on camera?
My kids are freaking out in the background. 1 second.
That's okay. If you want me to ask it for you, just let me know. Okay. Is there a good blueprint or prompt to share or create a series of videos that's helpful for seasoned business owners who haven't shown their process, their story, or expertise?
Is there like a recommendation from something I found? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like I think your question, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, is there, some video content that you should be doing if you're already a seasoned entrepreneur?
Oh.
Like some sort of
Like
blueprint.
a prompt. Sorry, they've calmed down now. Like a prompt, or almost like a guideline of like, okay, say I was to make 10 videos and each one is kind of like telling the story over time, so that there's like a prompt. You know how like some people who extrapolate stories from people say, okay, I need to know like, where were you born? Like that, like a prompt almost.
For your personal brand?
Yeah, for thought leadership, and to really just start sharing what I've been hiding behind the scenes for so long.
I don't no is a short answer. I think everybody's business is so unique. I don't have it that anyone needs to like, these are like the 10 videos you have to have out there. I mean, I always say like you should like at least once a month reintroduce yourself to your audience, because you get new members on all different platforms and you think people know what you do. People still are like, I didn't know you did brand photo shoots. I'm like, are you really serious? Right? People don't know. Like I said, everyone's wrapped up with what they're doing. So introducing yourself once a month, and then asking, but in the vein of trying to get to know who your audience is. So it's like, I'm telling you about me because I've got a couple of new followers and who I have to introduce myself to this month. And then at the very end of that post or whatever that content is, asking them like, hey, tell me about yourself. So again, it always comes back to that person. But there aren't any like series of videos in terms of like thought leadership, because really I'm like, it depends on where your audience is. Like maybe Instagram isn't it, maybe LinkedIn is where it's at, where you need to be writing articles and updating that profile, which is a completely different vibe. Also, it comes back to like, what do you want your people to do? Because without a call to action, it's just TV, right? So I don't really encourage you to go and do really a lot of anything if there's no strategy there, if there's no call to action at the end of this. People want to be guided, right? It's like we actually do them a disservice when we don't have something to give them. We get them all excited, they get them hyped, they're on here, and then you're like, okay, bye, right? And they're like, no, well, where's my tool, direction, place to be, right? So if you're building content, always start with the strategy. What are we really trying to do? It could be just building brand awareness. So when you do launch the app, people are already in your funnel, right? It could be you're launching, a total mom pitch competition and you want people to go out there and promote it, right? Whatever that is, but starting with the strategy first, always having some kind of call to action, whatever it is. Even if it's come back next week and I'm going to be talking about X. Drop into my DMs, book a discovery call. There is, visit the link in the bio, which nobody ever does, right? Give people the guide, otherwise they'll go find it somewhere else.
Does that help answer your question, Anna?
I am so.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if you do have a final question, this is the time we're going to wrap up. And I just want to say thank you so much, Monique. This was so inspiring and
fun.
It was so fun, and it's just your energy is so amazing, and I hope everyone can just take a little piece of your energy tonight, and I hope it carries on for the rest of the month because your energy is just so positive, and we just loved having you here. And thank you for sharing all those nuggets of information. And what I'm going to promise to do is I'm going to share actually on my personal Instagram and obviously tag my company, City Moguls, all the tidbits that you gave me tonight that I'm going to take away. So thank you.
Tag me and I'll repost you.
Thank you for inspiring me to do that. So I'm going to do that right after this. For those of you who are new to City Moguls, I know that a few people jumped on late and that was technical difficulty on our part. So we apologize for that. Zoom has upgraded some things and we're just getting, used to all this new technology. So we apologize. If you missed a little bit of the beginning, you will get a recording of this entire workshop tonight. So don't sweat it. You will have access to that little beginning where we really introed Monique. If you're interested in joining in on more of these types of events, you can become a City Mogul member. It's really easy. Our pricing is currently amazing and our pricing is going to go jacked up in a little bit. So if you want to think about joining our incredible community, I love seeing all of our members here. It's so nice. And I love seeing all of your new faces. So thank you guys so much for being here. We're also going to be having, just for people who are members, we're going to be having a members only event very soon. So stay tuned for that. And again, thank you, Monique, so much from my whole team, from myself, from Victoria, my co-founder, from Sam, who helped get everything organized for tonight. Thank you so much for spending the evening with us. We are super, super, super grateful. And thank you so much. And where can everyone find you for people who missed out at the beginning?
I just put it in the chat. So come follow me on Instagram and follow all my shenanigans at Monique Bryan _co. And that's where you can find out everything that is coming up, including I'm launching a podcast on November the 18th.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I'm like crazily excited. So I would love for you guys to, if you're following me, you're going to know a lot about it. So come over to Instagram where I spend all of my time.
Amazing. Yeah, we love your Instagram. It's so colorful. It's the best. Thank you so much again for tonight. If anyone wants to follow up with us and get connected to Monique, let us know. Shoot us a note. And thank you so much for spending your evening with us. That's it. 6:01 on the dot. Look at us go. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Very welcome. I like to see when all the faces disappear.
I know, me too. It's the best.
It is just like, Anna's like, I'm not going anywhere.
How do you guys know each other?